In this video, we are going to start a new problem for our current architecture. As you remember that we have designed and evaluate our architecture, and now focus on a new problem to identify what's wrong with this current architecture and how can we improve the current architecture. So before that, I would like to explain designing synchronous API for microservices. As you remember that there are two types of APIs when designing synchronous communication in microservice architecture. The first one is public APIs. The second one is backend APIs. For public APIs, should be aligned with the client request, and client can be web browser or mobile application request. So that means the public API should use RESTful APIs over the HTTP protocol. RESTful APIs should use JSON payload for request response. This will easy to check payloads and easy agreement with clients. Here you can see the image. The client and the microservices request could be the public APIs, because this can be hit from the outside of the world from the client application, and we call these public APIs. And the best practice is using RESTful APIs in order to see incoming and outgoing JSON object in here. And also there is a backend APIs, and we need to consider network performance instead of easy readable JSON payloads when it comes to backend APIs. Inter-service communication can result in a lot of network traffic. For that reason, serialization speed and payload size become more important. So for the backend APIs, these protocols support binary serialization should implement. The protocol alternatives is using gRPC or other binary protocols are mandatory. So as you can see that here you can see an example of backend APIs. If there is an inter-service communication between microservices, the important part is network performance instead of the easy readable payloads. So far we have seen public APIs, which is responding client application to the JSON response, and the best practice is that this public communication should be human readable and HTTP REST API to see incoming and outgoing JSON. But now we should focus on the backend APIs and backend communication. So there is a problem when communicating with backend. The problem is inter-service communication makes heavy load on network traffic. So if we expand these problems, network performance issues on happened inter-service communication, and backend communication performance requirements is a lot, and maybe real-time communication requirements comes from the business requirements, business teams, and also streaming requirements come from the business teams. For example, think about that client requests to backend microservices, but that microservices requires to call another microservices internal of the microservices. An example use case is adding item into shopping cart that need to calculate with up-to-date discount information. So that means shopping cart microservices expose API to the client. You can see in here. When the client invoke this API to adding item into shopping cart microservices goes to invoke discount microservices in order to get latest discount information before adding item into shopping cart to calculate latest prices. So what is the best practice to using this communication? The best practice is to use REST API between the client and the server, and which is the public APIs, and use gRPC between inter-service communication in order to be performant. So as a solution, we will learn gRPC APIs, which is a scalable and fast API, and able to develop different technologies with RPC framework. This will be also technology agnostic, can be used different libraries with gRPC.